Hello friends, this video on squares and square roots part 10 is brought to you by examfear.com. No more fear from exam.
Now, when we are talking so much about squares, you might be thinking that, okay, for smaller numbers it is fine. But for larger numbers, finding their squares by actual multiplication could be difficult. So how do we find squares of larger numbers? So let's take an example. Let's say that I ask you to find out the square of 64. So 64 square is not something which you can quickly say or which you can calculate mentally and just give the answer. So that's not possible. So what would you normally do if I ask you to find out the value of 64 square? So you will perform actual multiplication. That is, you would multiply 64 by itself. So 4 into 4 is 16. 1 gets carry forward. 6 into 24 is 24 plus 1, that is 256. Now 6 4s are 24. Again 2 is carry forward. 6 6 36 plus 2, that is 38. So now you add both of these, it becomes 6 9 10 4. So the result is 4096. Now you can do this actual multiplication and find out the square of 64, but the chances of mistakes or chances of error in this actual multiplication is more, because you are doing a lot of calculation. You're doing multiplication, you are doing addition. Now when your numbers go even bigger, like 64 is one example. Now if I ask you to find out the square of 642 square, so the multiplication is going to be more tedious. So the chances of error is more. So to avoid that, we often follow this particular method where we do not do actual multiplication, but we do something by which the method of calculation becomes little easier. So 64, we can write 64 as 60 plus 4. Now why did we write it like this? Because whenever we have something like 40, 50, 60, so whenever we deal with numbers ending in zeros, calculation by default becomes easier. So that is why we want to represent the given number in terms of a multiple of tens, like 60 is a multiple of 10. So 64 we want to write as 60 plus 4. So 60 plus 4 square. So what does this mean? This means that 60 plus 4 is getting multiplied to itself. That is 60 plus 4. Right? Now how can we write this? Now let's say that if you would have had something like this, x plus y into z. How can you write this? So if you have x plus y inside the bracket multiplied by z. So this is same as x into z plus y into z. This is the same thing, that x multiplied to z plus y multiplied to z. So this would be the same thing. So in a similar way, we are going to do the same thing here, where 60 is your x, 4 is your y, and 60 plus 4 is your z. So therefore, we can write it as 60 into 60 plus 4 plus 4 into 60 plus 4. So now this becomes 60 into 60. So this is the distributive property, if you remember. So this is how distributive property works. A into B plus C can be written as A into D plus A into C. So 60 into 60 plus 60 into 4 plus 4 into 60 plus 4 into 4. So now this multiplication is less tedious because you have zeros. So 2 zeros multiplied, you would get double 0. 6 into 6 is 36. 6 4s are 24, 1 0. Again 6 4s are 24, 1 0. 4 into 4 is 16. So when you sum these up, you get 4096. So you get the same answer. The only difference, and in both the cases you take some amount of time. But the only advantage is that in this case, using this technique of taking the help of distributive property, the chances of making calculation mistakes is lesser, because this time the calculations that you are performing are simpler than what you were performing before during actual multiplication. Let's take one more example. Okay, so I think I have overwritten that. So let's say this is our next example. 102 square, 102 square. So how can we write 102? This can be written as 100 plus 2 whole square. So this would mean 100 plus 2 into 100 plus 2. So with the similar approach, we can write 100 into 100 plus 2 plus 2 into 100 plus 2 using the same property as we discussed here. So this becomes 100 plus 100, 100 into 100 plus 100 into 2 plus 2 into 100 plus 2 into 2, that is 4. So this becomes 10,000, this becomes 200, this becomes 200, and this is 4. So when you find out the sum, it is 10404. So you see here also there was no need to perform actual multiplication, and you could very easily find out the square of 102. Let's try to find out squares for numbers ending with 5. That is those numbers which have 5 at their units place or the ones place, whatever you call it. So this is the units place or ones place, this is the tens place. So let's say that we have a number 45 and you have to find the square of 45. So here also we will not do actual multiplication. Instead we will follow the same technique. But here we will see one interesting thing. Now that you have 45, how can you write 45? You can write it as 40 plus 5 square. So this can be written as 40 plus 5 multiplied to itself, that is 40 plus 5. Now again with the same logic, this can be written as 40 multiplied to 40 plus 5 plus 5 multiplied to 40 plus 5. So this becomes 40 into 40 plus 40 into 5 plus 5 into 40 plus 5 into 5. So 40 into 40 is 1600 plus 200 plus 200 plus 25. So this comes out to be 2025. So this is the square of 45. Now one interesting thing that you observe is whenever you are trying to find out square of a number which ends with 5, the square also ends with 5. So you see 5 square is 25. So it's quite obvious that square of any number ending with 5 will always have a 5 at the end. In fact, there is one more similarity. Let's look at one more example. So that would help you to understand it better. So let's say that we take 155. So 155 would be 150 plus 5 whole square. So that would be 150 plus 5 multiplied with 150 plus 5. Okay, I think it was 175. Okay, now let's consider it 155 because we already started off with the calculation. So this can be very well written as 150 multiplied to 150 plus 5 plus 5 multiplied to 150 plus 5. So this becomes 150 into 150 plus 150 into 5 plus 5 into 150 plus 5 into 5. So when you find out the product, you say it's 22500 plus 750 plus 750 plus 25. So you see here also at the end the fourth term was 25. Here also the fourth term is 25. And this happens for all numbers which ends with 5. So in whichever number you have the units place is 5, you normally get to see this trend where out of these 4 terms, the last term would be 25. Now a lot of people, they give some specific formula with regards to these numbers ending in 5s. But I really do not believe in, memorizing formula and then putting things into formula. So you follow the same approach as you do for all other numbers. But this is something different that you observe. Not different, I would say this is something unique about these numbers ending in 5. So that's why I brought it to your notice. So this time your result is 24025. Again, a number ending in 5. So this is one very simple way which we discussed by which you can find out squares of numbers without doing the actual multiplication.
Thank you. Please visit examfear.com for free quality education. You can learn with a simple 4-step learning process wherein you can watch video lessons, you can ask your questions, you can refer notes, and you can take a free online test. We have content for class 6 to 12 on physics, chemistry, mathematics, and biology along with practical videos. So please subscribe to our channel for daily updates. Thank you.